So the Mi 10 and the Mi 10 Pro are cut from the same cloth. If you were not to look at the different finishes on the back of these phones, you would think that they are exactly the same. There is a tiny difference in the thickness and the feel of these devices. The Mi 10 does have a slightly bigger battery, and so the overall design is just that tiny little bit thicker. They both have 6.67 inch screens, very big, and the same design too. The Mi Note 10 has a slightly smaller 6.5 inch screen with the water drop notch, and that's the biggest design difference. Both the Mi 10 phones have smaller bezels all around on the side and on the bottom too. They are the real flagship phones from Xiaomi, using the brand new Snapdragon 865, whereas the Mi Note 10 is using a Snapdragon 730G processor. So certainly you'll get a better deal on that phone, but the performance will definitely not match the brand new Mi 10 phones. Xiaomi said one of the differences in the Mi 10 Pro is that it had a higher quality screen. Xiaomi say this has higher color accuracy than the Mi 10, but most of the other specs are exactly the same. They both have 90Hz displays, so you'll get a high refresh rate in both of the phones to make everything smoother, and the resolution is the same on both at Full HD. I trust Xiaomi that the Mi 10 Pro's display is a higher quality and the colors are more accurate, but honestly, to my eye, I could not tell you the difference between them. The way that they look and feel and the refresh rate being the same on both really gives you virtually the exact same experience whatever phone you're using. Compared to the Mi Note 10, both of these screens are much higher quality. The Mi Note 10 doesn't have any high refresh rates. It also doesn't get as bright, and I would say it is noticeable that the quality of the display and the colors just don't quite match up to the Mi 10 phones. You can definitely tell both of these screens are really high quality. What other aspects of the Mi 10 Pro did Xiaomi say that have been improved over the Mi 10? The speakers have taken a step up according to Xiaomi. Again, the difference isn't massive, but it is noticeable to me anyway that the Mi 10 Pro does just have a slightly richer sound from those stereo speakers than the stereo speakers on the Mi 10. Both the Mi 10 and the Mi 10 Pro have all the latest internals, so LPDDR5 RAM, UFS 3.0 storage, and Wi-Fi 6. Not to mention the Snapdragon 865, which is literally brand new and the best chipset you can get in the Android ecosystem. Day-to-day usage is going to be very, very similar. You can see in some side-by-side comparisons that definitely the Mi 10 phones both are a little bit quicker and snappier than the Mi Note 10. This is thanks to the RAM and the storage being more modern and more premium, so you're getting a slightly better performance overall. The difference between the Mi 10 and the Mi 10 Pro in this test will be literally zero. They have exactly the same specs. A quick test of RAM, so opening up these list of apps and seeing if any need to be reloaded or how many are kept in memory. All of the phones perform perfectly, keeping all of the apps in memory and switching between the apps very quickly. I did of course have to run a benchmark test. We've got Antutu here just to show you how powerful all these phones are. And of course the brand new Mi 10 phones sit at the very top of the Antutu benchmark rankings right now. The Mi 10 Pro scoring even higher than the Mi 10. A really huge score for that phone, above 560,000, an absolute beast. And the Mi Note 10, of course, not having a flagship chipset is going to lag behind. Overall, the Mi Note 10 is going to give you by far the best battery life. It has a lower powered chip and a much bigger battery than the other two phones, so you're going to get a huge amount of usage out of this phone's battery. The Mi 10 Pro has a smaller battery than the Mi 10, and that's because the charging speeds are quicker. Xiaomi said that the higher that the charging speeds are, the lower the battery has to go, just because of some trade-offs with charging speeds. A really good spec for me though is that both the Mi 10 phones have the same 30-watt wireless charging. All of the phones have under-screen fingerprint sensors which work very well. The Mi 10 and the Mi 10 Pro are exactly the same in terms of unlocking speeds. A huge difference between the Mi 10 and the Mi 10 Pro, and in the Mi Note 10 as well, is in the cameras. Funnily enough, the cheaper Mi Note 10 and the most expensive Mi 10 Pro share way more in common than the two Mi 10 phones. I won't compare the cameras too much in detail here because I've done other separate videos comparing all of the camera specs and images and videos from those phones, so you can go and watch that if you want. Gaming on both the Mi 10 and the Mi 10 Pro are going to give you exactly the same experience because they have the same processor and the same screen. The 90Hz refresh rate on these phones is really, really good for gaming too. At this price point, it's a really good spec to have a high refresh rate screen. The Mi Note 10, however, is no slouch, but it definitely isn't going to match up to a flagship chipset like the 865. found in both the Mi 10 and the Mi 10 Pro. Also, because it's a mid-range chipset, you can't play PUBG on the highest settings, whereas on both the Mi 10 phones, you can play in the highest refresh rate settings all the way up to 90 Hertz. And honestly, the game completely changes and becomes so enjoyable and fluid. That's just something you cannot get using the mid-range chipset in the Mi Note 10. Having the hole punch display on the top left of the screen also means that when you are playing games, it gets completely hidden by your thumb. Whereas on the Mi Note 10, you've still got the water drop notch, just slightly taking up a bit of the screen. So should you go for the Mi 10 Pro or the Mi 10? So the biggest difference for me is that the Mi 10 Pro has that faster wired charging. It does have slightly better, richer speakers, and definitely the camera system is just way more functional. You get way more zoom range, and overall you can do much more with it. But other than that, the Mi 10 and the Mi 10 Pro are going to give you a very similar experience. It's good that they share the same design, so you don't have to give anything up there. It's just that the Pro version does give you slightly better specs in some key areas. Subscribe for all the latest tech news and videos. That's it for now, but I'll see you in the next one.